So I know that this is about narcissism, this channel, but I want to explain something because it does have to do with like psychology. Now, I'm very empathic, but I have had narcissistic traits before due to psychological disorders. And that has a lot to do with like PTSD, stuff like that, very horrible childhood. And I want to talk about here is the one time I fell madly in love with a woman and I ruined it. And why it's a good thing that I did. First, she deserved way better than me. Did she get way better than me? I don't know. I certainly do hope so. But the woman was an absolute angel. She is exactly what any and every man would and could ever want. Her beauty was unlike anything I'd ever seen, even to this day. And her kindness, there's uncomparable to anything. Like, she really was just amazing, and probably, I'm sure, still is. She's married now with family, kids. But what happened is I ruined that relationship, so I never even got to meet her. What's funny is I only knew her online. She was in Romania, but I know that it was actual love. And this is 13 years later, and she's still the only woman I've ever truly loved. What I did with all that love after I ruined it that I had to give her is I found someone who was completely unworthy of it. A terrible person. And I thought maybe if I just choose someone who's very subpar, then that person would at least appreciate me, and I'll just donate my life to making their life amazing. And that's what I did for who is now my ex-wife. I made her life so incredible, and I spoiled her so very much because I just needed to give all that love to someone. Now, unfortunately, she turned out to be basically it's psychopathic, but inwardly. It's called covert narcissism, and recently is when they discovered, or they believe, that it is psychopathy, which I believe that as well, after looking into it quite a bit. Now, I didn't really believe too much in psychology or anything like that. I just knew that my parents were very, very evil people. My dad seemed to be psychopathic, and that my sister ended up getting it as well. I was even able to predict my sister's behaviors. For example, with a female psychopath such as her, they tend to create their own religions, and she did that. And she would harm people and act like a victim and talk about it in such a way as far as how she harmed the person, and she'd be talking about this, saying it as though she was the victim, and the stuff she would be telling you would be just so horrible. You'd be like, oh my god, like, this is a really bad person. And then she would tell you the end as far as how she didn't get away with it, and look at you like, don't you feel sorry for me? It's like, are you actually a crazy person, you know? And anyway, if I did not have a life like that full of very bad people, and I did get the life with that beautiful woman in Romania, then I would have believed that I was deserving of such a wonderful, beautiful, lovely woman. And I probably, just how my ex-wife acted with me, like she deserved me, I probably would have believed that and acted like that. What is it, kittens? Oh, don't run to me like you didn't do anything wrong. Don't run to me like you didn't do anything wrong. They didn't do anything wrong. They just knocked over a couple of empty boxes and they're playing. So important, man, to get some walnuts for work. Pick some grapes and everything. Those ready for work as well. Healthy diet, super important. But anyways, I would have believed that I was on the same level as her, and that I was deserving of her, which I clearly was not, and am not, and never will be. And what happened to me is, for example, when I used to go to church before I met that woman, these guys were total sissies. They were talking about problems going on in Mexico and places like that. And I was like, let's stop talking and start doing. I got some friends who have some pretty serious artillery. I did. They're former government guys. Said, let's bring one or two of these guys with us. Go over there, handle some business, get these kids and bring them back. And I remember this guy, Jarrett, he looked at me. He's like, dude, that's like, no, man, no. I was like, well, there's enough of us and it's worth dying for, so, prayer only goes so far. And that's true. That's true. Prayer only goes so far. People get angry when I say that, but it's the truth. A lot of the stuff, like God gave us a brain and everything, intentionally, for us to use and handle business. So, once things did not work out with that very lovely woman, I started taking the issues going on in America today with children and women being abused extremely seriously. So much so, I did everything I could to try and think like one of those people, those abusers, and understand what they would do and how they would work, which is surprisingly difficult, by the way. That type of mindset, the type of thinking is so unrelatable. It's just, you can't figure it out. And I started reporting people and things like that. The last person I got was my father-in-law. Was able to peg him, was able to profile him in under 48 hours. As a matter of fact, my at the time fiance, who's now my ex-wife, she was talking to her stepsister, and her sister had told her what their father had done. And again, this was like 1.5 days there. And at that time, I was like, I walked in there, it was her stepsister's room. And I was like, hey, babe, can you come out here? I need to talk to you for a moment. And what's funny is she told me that right there, right when her sister told her what their dad did, in her mind she was like, oh my God, my fiance is going to figure him out if he hasn't already. And she knew it was just a matter of time till I figured him out. Then she said that right when she was thinking that, I said, babe, can I talk to you? And she knew right there, it's like he's already got him. And I said, hey, your dad's a pedo and he's touching her. And I remember the look on her face. She just looked at me and said, really? How do you know? I told her about the hidden surveillance around the house that was obviously removed when we got there, along with the way he moves his hips and his arms and stuff like that, along with how close he gets to her and puts his head on top of her head. All of these things came together to the point where it's just, he fit the profile. And I say that, when I say that, I mean it. People say, they fit the profile. Is it insult? That's not a very funny thing to say, because fitting the profile is a serious thing. Oh wait, is this clean? Looks like it. And he is the last guy I got. I really started taking it even more seriously after that, because I was in Indiana, where a lot of people there, especially people who are high up, do some horrible things like that to children. Horrible. And As a matter of fact, oh, I can't tell you that. Shoot, can't tell you that part. Anyways, what I was saying was, I've done a lot of good in my life. I've done a lot of good. I've helped and saved a lot of people in a lot of different ways because I'm trying to be a person of value, and I want this world to be a better place when I'm gone. And I've been struggling, trying to find ways to leave this planet as a better place than if I wasn't here. During my whole childhood, I felt like I was a mistake. Sometimes I'd be in my room and act like I was invisible, act like I wasn't born, like I didn't ruin the family's life for existing. My parents told me I was a mistake child that wasn't planned. They treated me that way. They really did. Even my sisters, I had two sisters, one half-sister that was there for part of my childhood, and a full-blooded sister. And they were treated very differently than I was. Especially my full-blooded sister. Anything and everything she asked for. She's about the same age as me, just a little bit older. Everything she wanted, she was given. Every single time. And the way she could talk to my parents and the way she could act, whoo-wee. As a child, I was afraid of existing because my parents would beat me for something that had nothing to do with me. There'd be a cartoon on or something, and my perverted father, which is part of this is part of the profile, by the way, he would see the cartoon as having a sexual innuendo and then yell at me over it existing, saying that I laughed at it, and the only way to laugh at it is if I was perverted enough to understand. We're talking about like 5 or 6 year old kid. I was so small. One day, Sam, my father, picked me up and started throwing me around. And I think it was because the way I was holding my laundry or something like that. Oh, no. It was the way I shut the back door. I was talking about 5 years old. And he just lost it and hit me and hit me and hit me. And then picked me up in one of my rooms and threw me at the wall where I landed on the bed. And I woke up hearing a screaming. And it was me. And I realized that I had been knocked out. But I was screaming from the pain through my body. It was so excruciating. And now that I'm older, I can see my frontal lobe, and this is all a problem. So my frontal lobe, I have damage. Fortunately, my intelligence, logic, sense of morality, everything's still intact and pretty strong. But my frontal lobe, it's not very active, and it's due to an impact when I was a child. Unfortunately, since I have so much trauma in my past, and trauma from a plane crash with a lot of kids who passed away, I couldn't save them, all that stuff is very difficult for me to deal with in life. So depression and anxiety is very serious for me, especially when I see the things going on around the world. Narcissistic, abusive people that I'll turn in, and the government will see how bad it is and just not do anything. And it's really bad. And you get all that along with what my parents and all the abuse did to my brain, as far as all the trauma and everything, along with the frontal lobe that keeps you happy and active and talkative like I am right now. That's what that is, but it's damaged. So it's not great. It's not great. If I had gotten with that woman, my life would have been very different. Very, very different. And I would have thought that I was deserving of such love, beauty, and kindness just because I'm an empath. And that's simply not true. And because of my understanding that that was not meant for me, and that pain will stick with me forever, I use that pain. I use it to stay effective, to protect other people that no one else will. See, I'm the type of person, instead of saying someone should do something, I'm the one that decides to do something. A lot of it is to cover the pain, sure. The pain of that loss with that woman. The childhood and all that stuff too. That's not great. But losing her is the greatest pain of my life. I'll never get over it. But it's a good thing. Not good for me, not good for when I want to sleep at night. Not good for me psychologically with depression and anxiety. But it's good for everyone else. It's good for everyone else because I put so much effort into everyone else. No woman of quality wants anything to do with me. Never has. The reason why is because despite my intelligence, which is decent, and my accomplishments, which people think I'm lying, people don't care about who you are, your past, what you do. They care about your online personality, how you're viewed online. Unfortunately, I'm not willing to put a lot of effort into that because I don't care about lying and tricking people into something that I'm not. Very proud and happy with the person I choose to be. No one changes me, ever. There's been so many times back before the age of 30 that a woman would tell me, wow, a man has never spoken to me that way before. Because guys are afraid to lose a woman who's physically beautiful. I am not. I give respect, and I deserve the same respect. The only one I've ever lost that was my fault that I didn't deserve is that woman in Romania that I'll still have dreams about, I'll still love, I still think about. Even when I was married to my ex-wife, she knew that I was still in love with that woman in Romania. And that it will always be that way. But I've gotten laws passed in California, Indiana, and pretty soon the federal level. That pain has made me very effective. And I've saved a lot of people because of it. And that's why the worst thing that's ever happened to me in my life, despite my childhood, the pain, all that stuff, the abuse, the best thing to happen to me for other people is losing that woman. And the pain will always be there till the day I die, which I welcome that day.